being on this show. So we'll welcome in Coach Collopy.
How you guys doing?
How
we
we
doing,
doing,
Coach?
Good seeing you guys.
Nice seeing you again. I mean, we got a chance to talk with you a couple times during the football season, so we bring you on now for the baseball season. Like we like to do with all of our coaches, we start off with a sort of meet the team segment. Who we expect to see out of the Edison Baseball program turning some heads this year?
Well, you mean in terms of the players we have back?
Yeah, players
Okay.
you have back, and maybe some new players too that
Okay.
might surprise
Well,
people.
we returned 6 to 7 guys from last year's team. We graduated 3 seniors. Blake Conley, who played shortstop and was one of our main pitchers. We graduated Jaden Sanders, who was a utility guy. He was another. Him and Blake were our two top arms, and then we graduated our second baseman. So as far as returning, we returned seniors Cam Cooley. He was one of our top 3 pitchers. He plays first base as well. Ian McBain played third base and right field and pitched a little bit for us. Isaac Zastel was our left fielder. He returns there. And Eli Wilson was our catcher. So those guys are our seniors. Our juniors we have back. Gage Klein was our center fielder, and he did some pitching. Matt Parsons was a utility guy. He's another pitcher. And then we also had Braden Moses, who, he was a utility infielder. He ended up playing. I mean, there was a few scenarios where he didn't play, but he started the majority of the games for us, depending on who was pitching. And then we had a couple guys transfer in. Hunter Rothacker from Indian Creek. He's a pitcher and a first baseman. And Luke Taylor is a pitcher and a middle infielder from Steubenville. So those guys, we're adding them to our roster. We have some good young guys that we're taking a look at as well. So a lot of that will play out, once we get into scrimmages.
Yeah, when you get into this preseason, you start to look at your roster, you start to figure out what you got and what your strengths are and everything like that. What are some goals for the season that you think you can set as a coaching staff and as a team that are realistic goals for this team to accomplish and that you're probably going to set before the season starts?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. We come in every year in our first meeting, we tell the kids, this isn't a goal, but, no one, everybody that's in this room is here to win a state championship. So that's the only time it's ever stated. In terms of our goals, we explain to them, what it takes to get to that point. And that's basically daily improvement. We have kind of a hallmark of things that we want to be really good at. We put an emphasis on being fundamentally sound. We put an emphasis on being aggressive, being a very aggressive team, taking chances, playing to win. We love and we coach our kids to be very disciplined, and that's on and off the field, but especially, during baseball, understanding situations and, being disciplined and executing what we're asking you to execute. And then mental toughness. Like I was telling our kids yesterday at practice, baseball, in terms of being able to deal with failure, is probably the toughest sport you're playing because, there's so much failure, and being able to keep yourself at an even pace or even state mentally and not getting too excited with the good games and not thinking you stink with the bad games and just kind of letting things take care of itself. And we have some other things that we work on during games that aren't related to necessarily, winning the game, but they're things that if we accomplish throughout, the course of each pitch, the percentages are on our side as far as, having the opportunity to win.
14 plus years now at this Edison program, 269 and 107 overall record. What do you attribute to as the key, I guess, if you will, to the long-term success that you've been able to sustain with the program?
Well, honestly, it starts with, my mentor. Actually, it's our superintendent and our former head coach, Coach Beatty, he was our superintendent. He was the first baseball coach we had at Edison. When we consolidated north and south consolidated, he was the one and only head coach before I, took over from him when he retired. So he basically set the program up. And so when I took over from him, I took over a program that was successful, that was already, functioning at a very high level, that had standards, so that was, that played a big part into it. And then I would say continuity, the first, I don't know, 10, 12 years, me and Coach Jim Marcus, were his assistants, and Jim and I were coaching together when I took over the head coaching job. He was our pitching coach. So there's a lot of continuity. There's not a lot of changeover. Nick Howell, has been our head JV coach. I've been the head coach for 15 years minus one with COVID, and Nick was a JV coach for 2 years under Coach Beatty. So there's been a lot of continuity. We have former players that come back to coach with us. So, in terms of when we're coaching kids and teaching them, how we do things, and it's not like there's a certain way we do things, but baseball, to be fundamentally sound, you have to work on certain things, and we have kind of a way of doing that. I'm just, grateful that when we bring those guys back in, it's not like we have to sit down and go over things with them because they played for us. Jim Marcus retired 2 years ago as our pitching coach. Mark Smith is now our pitching coach. He had a very successful career here as a high school player. He owns West Liberty's pitching wins record at West Liberty University. He played professional ball in Canada, and he played for the Washington Wild Things down in Washington, PA. Corey Wickham, who's another varsity assistant, he was on my very first team where we went to the Final Four. He's been with us for 7 or 8 years. He coached the kids in the summer before he was on our high school staff. Nolan Marcus, he played for me, was an outstanding player, played in college as well. There's a lot of continuity with coaching staff. And honestly, it comes from we've had some really good players who've been dedicated to baseball, and we have families that understand what it takes, to be supportive of their child, because, as a parent of 2 girls, they obviously, they're not baseball players, but they play travel soccer, and my wife and I are all over the place, and it's a commitment from the parents as well. So I would say, to wrap everything up, the program that I took over from Coach Beatty, the continuity of assistants, having really good players, and having dedicated parents.
Coach, let's talk about your schedule this year, what it looks like, what your conference that you play looks like, and then what are some out-of-conference teams that you're excited for the challenge for and you think that will prepare you for the postseason?
Well, our schedule, we don't have that many out-of-conference opponents, but we have Heartland Christian, which they had a really solid team last year. I believe I know they were in the districts. I feel like they were in the district finals. They were a solid club. They had a lot of really good players. And then locally, there's just a lot of good baseball. We're in a Buckeye 8 league and then the OVAC. So Buckeye 8 league, Harrison Central has a couple D1 guys, that they have right now. Indian Creek they were lost in district finals last year. They're always solid. East Liverpool, they have a lot of really good players right now. They split with us last year. And then Beaver Local has athletes all over the place, and Coach Agnew does a good job with them. And, they're always tough and competitive, no matter who they play. But I'm just, obviously looking from our end of it. Then we play Steubenville Big Red, who has, great history as well. And like I said, the schedule, when you name all those teams, you play everybody twice. That's a lot of competition. So we have our hands cut off for us this year.
Still managed to get a winning record, though, last year. And, at 14 and 13, and with all you have returning, you got to feel optimistic going into this season. And where do you think the ceiling is, and or I guess expectations for this season, preseason expectations for you?
Well, I really like where we're at right now. But where we're at right now is not where we need to be. I told the kids yesterday after practice, what was good yesterday is not good today. But I really I feel like we have a really close team. I believe there's good chemistry. And obviously, when you're going through team sports, you have your ups and downs during the season. And, when you're on the negative side of things, or if you're going through some adversity, usually, the type of person you are, your characters reveal, and also how close your team is. So I feel confident that we have a lot of guys that care about each other, and they're really close. As far as fundamentals, I think we've improved. but we have a long way to go. We'll find out, the next couple weeks we have some pretty challenging scrimmages. We play Wheeling Park, who's always good. They're a West Virginia team. We scrimmage them. Indian Valley, they have a storied program. Coshocton, Coach Pratty and I, have known each other for a while, and he has some really good players there. And then we finished with Union Local, who beat us twice last year in the regular season. So, it's a challenging schedule as far as scrimmages, but also, we got to see where we're at. And as far as the goal that I want, I told the kids yesterday that, that us as a coaching staff, we want to have our kids playing at their very best individually and as a team, when it counts. And that's at the end of the season when the tournament rolls around. You always want to be playing your best then.
All right, Coach, before we let you go, why don't you let us know when your first game is, where it'll be, and give the Edison fans a call to action to get out and support this team all season.
Absolutely. Our first game is Monday, March 28th. We open up against East Liverpool at home. We just our community school district, put their heads and hearts and pocketbooks together. We have a brand new all-turf field that's at the high school. So we're very blessed to have that. We've been outside every day but one practicing. So we'll debut our new field against Liverpool at home, which, like I said, they beat the dog crap out of us one game last year, so we'll have our hands full.
Coach, I just really want to quickly ask you, too, before we let you go, too, just your experience with turning this football team around, too, the last few years. They've been successful. My final question for you, do you find it beneficial coaching more than one sport as a coach? And do you find yourself maybe not taking like plays or the X's and O's, but maybe coaching mentality from one to the other sport?
That's a very good question. I was actually texting back and forth with a good friend of mine, Mark Caesar, who just took over John Marshall's football program, and he is their baseball coach as well. And is it challenging? Yeah, it can be challenging. The coaching to me, it's just a different sport. So it's obviously sports are different, but coaching's still the same. I feel like the mindset that we've had at baseball here has been a mindset of it didn't matter who we were playing. We thought we were winning every game. And that's, when I interviewed for the job, I talked to our administration and superintendent, and obviously Mr. Beatty knows that mindset, being our head coach. And that's what we want to build in football. And obviously 1 year is just 1 year, but we want to build something consistent, and to do that, you got to do it from the ground up. There's no shortcuts. There's different. You have to be strong in both sports. Mental toughness. Fundamentally sound, being disciplined. So there's some carryovers, but the biggest adjustment with me in football was, as an assistant, you don't really know all the stuff the head coach does. I didn't know there was as many interviews as they were. There's a lot more postseason honors. Baseball, you basically have a few, and there's you have OVAC, you have your league, you have Eastern District, and then if you have kids good enough to make All State. In football, there's tons of different awards. So I learned that aspect of it, which I'm sure I'll do a better job next year moving forward in that area.
Coach, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, giving us a preview of Edison Baseball. We wish you the best of luck this season, and we hope to talk to you again real soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. See you guys later.